The KEL-TEC PMR-30 has been one of those guns that's been so hard to try and get that I basically stopped asking. I had kind of put it out of my mind. But there I was in the local gun store, picking up a T&E gun for review work, and I happened to see this thing down at the bottom shelf of the cabinet. I said, hey, what is the KEL-TEC? Sure enough, PMR-30. And I said, sold. So here it is, PMR-30, and I have never had the pleasure to shoot one, so I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to getting the first 100 through it, and many more after that, I hope. So let me just show you real quickly how it comes. You see the box. The box is a plastic box, but it has no carry handle, so it's a bit odd and awkward in that respect, but it does have 2 lock holes. Comes, of course, with the gun. There's a magazine in the gun. There's another magazine here. They are 30-round magazines. That's where the gun gets its name, PMR-30. This odd-looking little set right here is a trigger lock system. You would put that together, the 2 halves. You would put that screw in, and then you lock it with this lock. The gun has high-vis sights on it. I'll show you those closer in a bit. But it comes with this little tool and some extra tubes. But let's take just a quick look at this pistol before I get it out and put 100 rounds through it. Here's the PMR-30 in all of its beauty. It is quite striking, isn't it? Okay, maybe it's not the most elegant looking pistol on the planet. Maybe it's not the most beautiful head-turning work of art. But there is a certain, I don't know, certain industrial, almost steampunk type of quality to it. And so it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's like one of those puppies that looks like a rolled up towel. It's just so ugly it's cute. But here's a closer look at the high-vis sights. Nice long light tubes on them. Green in the front, red in the rear. Gives you definitely a nice sight picture. So I'm looking forward to seeing how I like that in live fire. This is 22 Winchester Magnum. So 22 Win Mag is the caliber, 22 Winchester Magnum, and that is the allure and the mystique and probably the popularity. So I have almost no familiarity at all with that, with 22 Magnum. I shoot either 22 long rifle when I shoot rimfire or I shoot center fire. So it's going to be really a lot of fun for me to just try this out and try out the caliber itself. So I'm really looking forward to it. KEL-TEC manual says it is okay to do some dry fire with this gun. Dry fire typically with rimfire is not something you want to do, but they say it's okay, just don't overdo it. Magazine release is in an odd spot. It is down here. Very, very vintage. Reminiscent of guns of old. So nothing here, nothing on the paddle, none of that. They said, nope, we're going to put it right down here. And there you go. But you know, you probably aren't going to need to do a whole lot of speed reloads with this gun. Even if you chose this gun as your self-defense weapon, with a 30-round magazine, if you've got to do a speed reload, you are having a bad day. Okay, this is the first 100 with the PMR-30 from KEL-TEC. And I got to tell you guys, I have absolutely no experience whatsoever, not just with this gun, but with 22 Magnum. So this is kind of a real first for me, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be a whole lot of fun. I will tell you though, I got 30 rounds of ammo in this magazine. This is Winchester Varmint, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2200, 2250 feet per second is what it's rated at. I think it's a 30 grain bullet. I'll put that information here, right down here. But anyway, it was not a pleasant experience getting 30 rounds in here. So I'm sure there are tricks to making it easier to do, and I'm sure that experience maybe would help and all that kind of stuff. But man, I tell you, my lip was starting to quiver. It was tough, but here we go. I'm looking forward to putting the first 100 through this gun. And probably not going to do too much more than a first 100 today, because man, this ammo is expensive. I mean, you could buy like Federal HST centerfire, good stuff for what you pay for this stuff. But anyway, I got a steel target about 12 yards down range, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun with it. Let's see how this thing does. I have heard I have heard good things and I've heard bad things. From what I understand, this new generation, this is a 2018, very end of 2018, this is a new gun. And so what I understand is that this new gun, the new version of it, is fixes a lot of problems that they had with feeding and reliability and stuff in the old one. But we'll see. I am totally clueless, so it is a blank slate here. Here we go. Well, that was fun. That wasn't as fun. So we're 1 for 2. Does this thing have restrike capability? Nope. All right. Man, I hate to have to shuck. This is not like 22 long rifle where you go, well, I'll just shuck out that round. That's an expensive round I just had to shuck out of there. Oh, I'm not liking that. What's going on there? Might be a feeding issue too. Yeah, I don't think I'm chambering. No, I don't think I'm chambering around. It's not up at the top. It's not anywhere near the feed lips on the mag. And man, there was a nasty, nasty crease in that case. One of the things I was noticing when I was loading this magazine is that, you know, to push down as hard as you have to get the next round in when you get past the halfway point. I mean, when I got past 15, it got tough, and it stayed tough. But I noticed that I was actually putting some dents in the brass cases. You know, just shoving the round on top of it down. So that's interesting. And this is a case where interesting does not mean good. All right. Now we got one not wanting to feed. Okay, I think I got it in there. Okay, this is what you paid your money for. This is the first 100, and at this rate, this is going to be a long video. Might want to put some coffee on. All right. As I was loading these mags, which took me 10 to 15 minutes, I mean, it was a fairly painful process, and literally and figuratively, to load these magazines. But as I was doing that, I was thinking to myself, I don't know how reliable this thing's going to feed, because these things were a bear to get in, and they sort of get all cattywampus. All right, so there's one just sitting there, didn't want to eject. It extracted it completely, but it doesn't want to eject. All right. Maybe we'll get to the point where we can shoot 2 or 3 in a row. Wouldn't that be fun? It's like, yeah, this gun's a lot of fun. Okay, well, prove it. Prove it. Okay, now we got one. Looks like it wants to feed, but man, not coming anywhere near feeding. There we go. All right. It's almost like the slide didn't cycle all the way back. Well, I don't know if I'm going to do much in terms of accuracy today, because it really does distract me. when a gun doesn't run. Now we're on a roll. Now I'm experiencing some of the fun. Recoil is non-existent, as you might expect, for the most part. And the gun weighs nothing. Even loaded, it weighs nothing. Very nice sight picture. The high-vis sights are great out here in the sunlight. And there we did it. We got through 30 rounds. Boy, that was tough. Okay, Hornady VMAX, also a 30 grain bullet, rated at 2,200 feet per second. And I'm also managed to stuff 30 rounds of this into this magazine. Oh, I hope we make out better than we did in that first magazine. That was just not fun. It was just not fun, and we are here to have fun. The rounds get in the magazines like all kind of, you know, twisted around and things like that, and so, you know, it's not surprising me really to have feeding problems, because it was, I don't know, we'll see. I think this is going to be a magazine that likes to be about half full if you really want to enjoy it. Because this kind of stuff is really, it's not my idea of a good time. But I'll tell you what, when it is shooting, it is incredible. And when it's just going click, not so much. Mag release is the old style, right at the boot, right at the back of the back strap. No. So the problem we're having here, and I really can't show you too close and have you see it, but the problem we're having here is these rounds are sort of stuck together, and they're not rising up. So you don't have enough follower strength or spring strength to push them up to where the slide can pick it up and chamber it. So again, it's sort of a weird design. I think I'm going to have to monkey with this. Okay, I think I've got it. So basically, you know, the back of the case, the rimmed end of the case was just not up in the channel to be picked up and fed, to be stripped off the mag. So, and I saw that on the previous mag for one or two. Yeah, I thought to myself when I left the house today with just this project, I was like, man, this is going to be a quick, easy first 100. No, it's not. Okay, one in a row. All right, my favorite. Alrighty, we're back to that. Yep, back to that. No round available to be stripped. They just will not. They get bound. The problem is they bind themselves in this magazine. Guess I'm gonna have to keep this little screwdriver in my pocket. Well, on the few and far between occasions where I get a couple rounds off, the potential is here for this gun to be a lot of fun, and looks like it's a laser beam accuracy wise, but you know, it's all theoretical at this point. There is certainly some concussion, and I'm sure it's very, very loud. And it's probably, if you had a low light situation, it's probably a lot of fun muzzle blast. But I'm not impressed with the reliability. Okay, so it seems like when you get about to the halfway point, then it starts to feed pretty reliably and all that. And I will tell you, loading this magazine was a real SOB once you got past 15 rounds. So I think my plan for the rest of this day is going to be load 15 or less. I don't care how many they say it'll hold. Between taking a long time to load the magazines and having to do so much messing around with it just to shoot it, you're much faster. You're going to save a lot more time in the long run to just stuff 10 to 15 rounds in it and go. Okay, got some CCI ammo in here now, and I'm going to try, see if I can get a little bit of accuracy out of this thing, which, as long as it'll function, as long as it'll feed them and all that, it should be awful accurate. I'm still about 12 yards away from my target. Okay. Okay, I gotta tell you, I'm just glad to be done with this thing for today. So the first 115 rounds were pretty frustrating, actually. I was disappointed in the performance of the gun, and, I don't know, maybe the gun was disappointed in the performance of me. So I know that loading the magazines is a bit of an acquired skill, and I probably wasn't doing the great job of it. It probably wasn't smart to try and load both of them up to 30 rounds right off the bat. I should have started lower with even 10 or 15 to let everything sort of break in a little bit. I don't think the magazines are really going to break in. I hear people sometimes say, well, you need the magazine follower spring to break in. It's like, well, if it's going to wear in, then it's going to wear out pretty quick. So springs should maintain the same amount of spring for a really long time. So I don't think that's the case, other than maybe the follower itself sort of, wearing off any little rough edges, or wearing itself into its path, that type of thing. That might make some sense. I could buy that. So, maybe those magazines need to be loaded and unloaded several times, and maybe I just need a little bit more practice at the finesse of loading them properly. I did try to follow the instructions. The manual does do a pretty good job of telling you how those magazines should be loaded. I thought I did a pretty decent job of that, but I could have been part of the problem with the feeding and the functionality. So I will stockpile some more 22 Magnum and get this thing back out for some additional extensive testing before I draw any big conclusions. This, after all, was supposed to be a first 100, and that is what it is, and they go whatever way they go. Taking the gun down after the 100 rounds and looking at it, I was actually a little bit impressed that it wasn't very dirty. Not very dirty at all. The gun runs pretty clean. In fact, you can see, and I'll pop in some close-ups here, but you can see some unburnt powder. And that's an ammunition issue, not the gun, but really not even that much, considering, again, 115 rounds of 3 types of ammo. What I did notice up in the slide, and again, this is a lot cleaner than I expected it to be. I thought it would just be caked full of carbon, and honestly, I thought it would be caked full of shaved brass and things like that. But what I did notice was right here in the slide where the rounds are stripped, and again, I'll do a close-up. So there's a whole lot of friction going on right there. Anytime, and probably a lot of time, that it wasn't stripping those rounds, it was riding along the top, it was really getting all kinds of brass on there. So, don't know. Back to the drawing board with this one. No conclusion reached at this point. I can't say I like the gun a whole lot because it doesn't perform very well so far. But when I was able to get off half a magazine worth of rounds without any kind of malfunctions, it was huge fun. So I definitely see the allure of this firearm if I can get it running smoothly. There's the first 100 PMR-30. Sometimes they go great, sometimes they don't.